I've seen people stand in IEDs and have their legs blown off. And it doesn't matter how good a soldier you are. If that IED's in the floor at that place, there's no skill that can get you out of that. So imagine walking to school the same way every day. And then one day out of nowhere, bang, this thing just goes off. If I was to have a child that wanted to join the army.
Could be late for school!
I'm coming!
I wouldn't let him.
Seriously? Are you kidding me right now? This is something I need to address, guys. Hello everyone, it's Matsimus here with you today. Thank you for joining me. So, there's not often that videos on the internet really get me quite aggravated and frustrated with what kind of content they produce. And when it comes to something that's applied to me in my life and bad advice, I always try my best to, you know, take it with a pinch of salt. But for something like this, and because I know many of my viewers are a younger generation and are potentially going to be joining the armed forces, army, military, whatever you want to call it, in the future, I really felt that this was something I need to address because it really did piss me off. Now, as most of you are aware, I joined the army when I was 16 years old. Best decision of my life. Let's just start off with that point and get it clear before we even go into this video. I joined the army at a young age. I completed all my GCSEs, worked hard to get the qualifications I needed to, and joined the army. Best decision I've ever made. I'm so proud and glad that I did. And recently I came across a couple of videos that really irked me. They're basically a child soldier, anti-child soldier group which are trying to encourage youth to not join the army. Now in this particular video, or this particular case, it's focusing on the British Army enlisting at 16 years old, as I did, and how basically all the negativity, the bad sides to everything, how it's not a good idea, it's not a good choice, and it just really pissed me off because I would not be here right now in front of you with what I have and what I've achieved without the army. I'm sorry, I wouldn't. I honestly am a very strong believer that education is very good for us. It's extremely important, and for those of you who are going through education, hats off to you. Like, huge respect. I know a number of people in my life who worked very hard as students and are doing fantastic in their lives. This isn't a don't do education kind of thing. It's not you should join the army, you know, it's the best thing ever and go do it. This is more a defensive line on my case, from my own personal opinion, on what these people are spewing into youth is false. Now they're saying the opposite to what I'm trying to counter. They're saying that the army is spewing false interpretations of what it's joining the army is going to be like, and you know, all these things that you're not going to get, and it's not good for a civilian career. So what we'll do is we'll watch this video. And I want you to, first of all, take into what he's saying and what this group's trying to get across. This isn't a bashing thing, it's just something that I feel like I should stand up for because I have lived this. This gentleman here who is speaking clearly has lived it also. He hasn't done so well for himself. Everybody has their own different takes on what happens when we join the military and the army, and things sometimes don't work out. But I don't think that this group should be spewing this tripe because of one person's experience in the army. It's not right, it's completely unjust, and I really do feel that it is propaganda. It is, it's producing an image of the army that they're recruiting to get their legs blown. I mean, you'll hear what he says. It's cringing. It's horrible to listen to, some of the things he says, and then that's his opinion, and I'm not faulting him for it, but I am faulting a little bit with the group that they're trying to portray this image. So anyway, I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot here, but let's watch the video and we'll go from there. And I'll just pause it. Oh, hold on, let's start again. And I'll just pause it as we go and just kind of put my own take on it. So here we go.
I mean, what can I say? I can walk far with a lot of weight on my back, or you know, I can shoot someone, but that's not really a thing someone wants to hear in a job interview, you know.
Okay, so let's just go back here so we kind of stay on the same topic here. So he's basically saying that, and this is the start of the video. He's saying, you know, civilian employers, what they're going to care for. All I can do is walk long distances, carry a lot of weight, and I'm fit, and all this good stuff. What a pile of bull! I mean, it's just off the bat, absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. The army is not something that you join to look into the future to focus on a civilian career. Let me get that straight. And if you are thinking about joining the army or any kind of armed forces, do not apply if you feel like it's something that should be a stepping stone to get you to something better in a civilian career. That's my opinion. It's a bad idea. Okay? It is. It's stupid. If you want to be in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, wherever else it may be, then do it. And stick to it. Not stick to it, but go into the process of wanting to be that particular member of the armed forces, knowing that you want to continue that career. Everybody has their own opinion on that, and I get it. Maybe some people do want to join to get certain skills and qualifications, which is completely countering what this person is saying. Fair play to you, so you should. But don't go into the, like, if you want to join the army, then join it and aspire to be, you know, 22 years, 12 years, a long way down the line. Don't join thinking, oh, I can join the army to get all these skills and qualifications. No one should really be thinking that. When I thought about joining the army, I looked at, I can go all around the world. I'm going to find experiences and people and friendships and camaraderie I'm never ever going to find in many other careers in the world. Of course, there's many civilian careers that have similar kind of ethos and mentality and lifestyle, but really not that similar. And overall, it's something that you should be in here. It should be in here. You shouldn't be joining the armed forces or any military organization or branch up here. If you're thinking about it too much and it's not deep inside you to want to be in that armed force, honestly, it's not a great move. So instantly this guy is basically telling us that, you know, all I know is how to go long distances. The army's provided me with nothing to get me into civilian career. Guess what, buddy? This is twofold. What I just mentioned, if you're going to join the army, you shouldn't be focusing on what civilian career is going to give you, or what the army's going to give you for a civilian career, because that's not the army's job. The army's job is not to train you and give you all these qualifications so that when you leave, you'll be able to be employed. If that was the case, the MOD, especially in the British Army's case, would be bankrupt from trying to provide all these extra curriculum courses all the time to allow you to prepare to leave. When you're about to leave, then they do, and you have multiple options and chances and availability to do extra curriculum courses, education, skills, apprenticeships, whatever else you may do. So that, my friends, is complete BS. Let's carry on.
You know?
Okay, so if I join at 16, will I get useful qualifications? Let's carry on from what I just said.
It's almost like you go in the army with no qualifications because you're 16 and then the highest you're going to have is a GCSE. And then when you get in, you do all this stuff and you start thinking, oh, I'm achieving loads of stuff, but really it's sort of like, it's just like a pause on normal life. And when you get out, you think you've achieved all this stuff, but really it's just completely paused. You're just back at where you was to begin with.
Okay, did you notice how he said pause on normal life? My normal life, when I was 16, was joining the army. The army was my normal life. I didn't go in at 16 and thinking, okay, I'm going to pause my normal life in civilian world, do however many years in the military and come back to my normal life. If the army or the armed forces that you're joining isn't part of your normal life, don't join. Don't join at all. Go do all the things that you should have thought you should have done before you were 16. Go do further education. Continue your normal life. This person to me seems like someone who has joined the military or the army, and this is just my own, you know, take on it and opinion. It's probably not fact, but from what he's saying so far, is he's basically saying, I'm joining the army to get all these experiences and extra qualifications and all this fantastic military rep under my belt so that when I get out into the civilian world, I'm going to have this huge persona and this massive portfolio to be able to get any job I want, or good jobs. No, that's not how it works. Whatever trade you're in, whether it be technical, infantry, combat arms, whatever else it may be, it doesn't matter. That's not what the army is about. It just makes no sense. And when him saying that there's no, you barely get any qualifications, they don't transfer over to the civilian world, as I mentioned before, it's not the army's job to do that. Qualifications are specific to the role that you're doing in the army. The army isn't there to pay you, or any armed force, to pay you to get ready to leave. That is done when you sign the dotted line or hit JPA. You have a year to do what you need to do. And guess what? The army is not stopping you from doing further education during your career. You may have to pay for it, but guess what? Your normal life, you would have to pay for it too.
And all these like qualifications that they say transferable, it isn't transferable at all.
Okay, all these qualifications that they say are transferable, they're not transferable at all. Without specific instances, that again is complete BS. What qualifications is he talking about? There could be anything. He could be talking about like Microsoft PowerPoint courses or Microsoft PowerPoint qualifications, or I mean, I did a course. It was the European Computer Driver's License. I knew it was complete bogus when the army gave it to us and said, "Oh, it's going to be great for you when you leave." If you have common sense and you actually do a bit of research once you do the course, you realize it's really not applicable. But the army give you that training so that if you go into a position where you're promoted or you need to use computers or all that sort of stuff, you have the skills and the ability to do so. What's the harm in that? There is no harm, and it's free. You're complaining about free education to teach you how to use IT systems. I don't see what the problem is there. Maybe the army telling you it can transfer into civilian life is something that is maybe, I mean, I don't know specific instances. They never really told me that. They said it's applicable to help you going into a civilian career, but they never actually said this qualification will come up in your resume and they'll be like, "Oh, wow, he has a European Computer Driver's License." It sounds ridiculous as it is. So if you had the common sense, you would know your employer shouldn't be looking for that. So here's the next one. Most of the education and training provided to young recruits is specific to the armed forces. Well, why do you think? Because the MOD and the taxpayer is paying you to be a member of the armed forces, not for you to leave and go get a cushy fancy job from being in the armed forces. That's not how the system works, and it shouldn't be how it works. If I told you, hey, just so you know, the taxes that you're paying right now, yeah, so 50% of that is actually going to, within the army anyway, 50% of that taxpayers' money is actually going towards training the soldier who's being trained as a soldier to be ready when he wants to go into another job. Just so you know, I mean, everybody else who's paying for their own student loans and their own education in the normal world or civilian world, they have to pay out of their own pocket. But just as a taxpayer, you have to pay 50% so that they're ready to when they get out of the army. No, that's not how this works. If you want to join the armed forces, guess what? The training and the things that you do from it are going to be for the armed forces. That's why they're investing money in you. Anything else is a bonus. And if you complain about not getting enough, guess what? That's your own fault. It's your own fault for making the decision that you wanted to be in the armed forces when really you didn't, and you wanted to be in a different career. It does not have transferable value to a civilian job.
When I was going to join up, my dad said, if you're going to join up, get yourself a trade, which basically means, you know, be a mechanic, join the REME, or be an electrician, or be a builder, or something like this. Because what he kept on saying, when you come out, you're going to have nothing to get out to, sort of thing. By the time I wanted to join the army, I didn't care. I was either into something else, like skateboarding or drumming, and schooling didn't matter then. And then I got into the army, then I thought, well, I don't need qualifications to get in the army, so I can just be fit. So I just concentrated on my fitness and just completely sacked off my GCSE. So I ended up with, I think, a B in English and a C in woodwork.
Okay, so again, this is a personal situation, okay? This is a personal situation that has been manipulated for this organization. In my personal opinion, this guy is not proactive, okay? He's not proactive, and he's not committed to wanting to be in the job. He is expecting the army to pay for everything and to empower him to do all these qualifications and to get his GCSE grades up and to get all these quals ready for when he gets out, but then isn't actually doing it. He even said it himself. He sacked off all the education and focused on his fitness. Why are you blaming the army for that? There was at no point in your career that I'm sure the army said, hey, you can't do any further education. You just got to focus on your fitness to be a soldier. No. No. Guess what, pal? I can guarantee what you were probably doing, same as I was back in the day, is probably going out with your buddies, having a good time and enjoying your youth. You're 16, having fun. Like you should be. And guess what? People in civilian world do it too, but they still have the time and availability to make up further education and extra curriculum if they want to. So this guy is purely just showing that he's not proactive enough to actually go about maybe getting some qualifications if and when he wanted to leave. And this is interesting. The veteran employment gap. Deployment to employment. Exploring the veteran employment gap in the UK. Notice how the majority of this is blurred out, by the way. They don't want to show you anything else. It's just this little factoid here. Twice as likely to be unemployed as their equivalents in the UK and general population. Because of the fact that everything else is blanked out, that is a completely irrelevant fact. That is BS. It has actually come from the Royal British Legion, which is interesting. I'd love to do a little bit more research on that, see what's actually going on with those figures, because that's shady to me.
So for someone like myself who wasn't very good at school, you assume that you're going to be able to be a really high flyer in the army, but that's not necessarily the case, because although you haven't got the civilian qualifications, you also need those type of qualifications to get a high, like a technician job or something like that in the army. So you're only ever going to be able to be susceptible to these lower ranked, combat roles, which are far more dangerous, and you're more likely to get injured or killed in these roles.
Okay, so this is so ridiculous. So what he's saying is, I wasn't good at school, so the only options I had was to go into the combat arms, which therefore is a higher risk of being killed or lesser ability to get qualifications when I'm unemployed and leaving the military. Look, buddy, and this goes to any of you who are applying into the army. If you're going into it thinking the army's going to provide me with everything and all these qualifications because I wasn't good at school and the combat arms will sort my life out, think again. Okay, think again. If you don't have good education, your schooling isn't so great, that's not a big deal. That shouldn't deter you from joining the army. If anything, it should encourage you. Maybe you'll have the ability with the army to get a little extra help, a little bit more support, and focus on your studies whilst in the background getting experiences and life skills that are going to benefit you tenfold. It's not all about education and employment. It's about learning about yourself as a person, confidence, charisma, discipline, integrity, all these things that the army installs into you, the ethos of the armed forces, not just the army, all the armed forces, is so much more important, I think, at that age, 16 to 17 years old. Because at that time, you're still learning about who you are. And the army can really, like I said, I'll just stick with the army for this reference, but it can really give you a very clear focus. And what this guy's saying is, well, I didn't have the qualifications to get into the good trade, so I had to stick with the combat arms, and the combat arms don't give me anything extra, so when I get out of the army, I've got nothing available. Again, this is all down to his own personal proactiveness and ability to go the extra mile. You got bad grades at school. That's unfortunate. Guess what? You decided to join the army. Now you're expecting the army to provide you with this lifelong career, and then when you get out, have everything handed to you on a platter, be able to jump straight into a very good job and a good employment, and employers are going to love to have you. I'm sorry, buddy, but that's not how it works. You chose to not, or you had the unfortunate aspect of not being able to get the good grades before going into the army, and you've decided, from what I can take in this particular video, is to not continue that education and try and improve it and sack it off for fitness. If anything, in my eyes, you are completely to blame in this instance. Why is it the army are the ones now that are creating these child soldiers that are a lot less likely to be employed? But this is all down to what I see as just a guy who's been lazy and hasn't seen the fact that he is in a combat arm, and there are going to be very limited skills and trades and abilities for education from that particular arm of the armed forces, and you're going to have to be a bit more proactive if you want to be able to go into these bigger employments when you leave. It makes no sense to me. Young veterans are almost twice as likely to be unemployed. Please find me the figures of where you get this from. Where did you find this? As civilians of the same age. Bullshit. Absolute BS. That is absolute crap. Where do they get that figure from? Like, it's crap. Lack of education, qualifications, and skills are one of the main reasons for this. Let's just go back here. Oh, go back. Lack of education, qualifications, and skills. Skills. That's the one I'll focus on right now. The lack of skills that the army provides you? Are you kidding me? There's not one life skill that the army doesn't help develop. Not one. Discipline, confidence, teamwork, empowerment, everything. It gives you everything. This is my own personal opinion, but let's be honest here, people. The army isn't going to bring you in just to belittle you down and not improve your own personal skills. What would be the point in that? To improve a soldier's overall skill set is going to improve them overall as a soldier or a tradesman or any kind of trade or skill or arm in the armed forces. So why would they not want to focus on skills? And for that matter, why would they not want to focus on education and qualifications? They do, but guess what? It's up to you to go out there, find the courses, the education that you need, and do it. If you need the funding, guess what? There are many options in the armed forces that allow you to get that funding and do the courses and do the education to allow you in the future to set yourself up. This isn't lack of education, qualifications, and skills. What this should say is lack of commitment, dedication, and empowerment to do these things on screen are the reasons why. That's the reasons why.
I remember my friends, once they sort of left school, that had the same sort of ability as me. So I've got a lot of them took like apprenticeships. So instead of doing GCSEs, they did a more manual laboury type thing. And got qualifications to do that, and eventually got a job. You know, maybe even starting labouring, but now they're sort of you know, team leaders at this type of thing, and it's good money. They're earning good money, and they've got a good life.
Again, see, and this is the thing. This guy should have never have joined the army. He should never have done it. You know, he says, well, I got bad grades and, you know, I thought, well, I've got bad grades, I'll just join the army. It's not the way you should be going about doing things. So why didn't you follow your buddies? You know, if you thought, I want a high-paying job, because you just talked about money, right? They're earning good money, right? Why on earth did you join the army then? Like, if that's your goal in life is to earn lots of money, then power to you, go for it. If you want education, skills, and qualifications, same thing. Good for you. Hats off to you. Go do it. And respect all those of you who are. But then don't go into the army expecting for you to be given everything on a platter and handed to you. Okay? And then when you get out, complain that all your buddies are doing great in their apprenticeships and stuff. You chose to join the armed forces, and you chose to not empower yourself to get the grades to be able to join an apprenticeship trade within the army that you could have done the same thing when you left. Huge respect to the combat arms, of course, but let's be honest, there are going to be very limited trade skills and skill sets and educational variations that you can get in those parts, infantry, artillery, all those sort of things, because it's just the way it is. The army isn't there to train you to be a plumber whilst being a tanker, or to be a carpenter whilst being an infantryman. They are paying you and training you to be an infantryman. When I joined the army, I joined as a tank mechanic. And guess what? The army paid me to be a mechanic. So therefore, I did my training, my education, my qualifications and skills to be a mechanic. And I worked my balls off to get the educational qualifications and skills to be able to apply for that role. And guess what? Even then, when I wanted to join the army, my primary focus wasn't to be a mechanic so that in the future I have life skills to get out from. Was it something on the back of my mind? Yes, of course. My parents are telling me, you know, it's just like he was. You know, maybe you should think about doing something that could give you something, you know, when you leave. But that wasn't my focus. My focus was to work with tanks and hands-on repair. That was just something I enjoyed doing from a kid. I used to have fun doing it. You know, building things, Lego, Meccano, all that sort of stuff. And I thought, wow, that's a lot of fun, and tinkering with engines and stuff. And then I thought, you know what, that'd be fun. I can work with tanks, because I originally was going to join the tank regiment, heavy armoured Royal Armoured Corps. Challenger 2 and such. And I thought, well, what's the point? I get to work alongside them anyway, being with the Remy, and get to transfer all over the army. And that's what I did, and I worked my ass off to get qualifications to do that. So, I just don't understand this guy's mentality of, you know, everything should be given to him so that when he gets out, he can be at the same stage as his buddies who continued education. That's not how this works. You chose to join a career that focuses on being a soldier. I believe he's an infantryman, okay? So his primary focus, and the army's primary focus, was to train him to be an infantry soldier, not to be ready to leave with all these qualifications. So this organization who's saying don't enlist at 16 is basically saying, well, guys, if you don't do well at school and you join the army and you get out, it's going to screw your life up. Well, guess what? That's very, very broad brushed to say that if you join the army, it's going to destroy your potential future lifestyle from leaving. You shouldn't be joining the armed forces if you just feel like you should be setting yourself up to leave with all these skills and qualifications. A career is a career, and the armed forces, and especially, you know, in the army term for me, it's no laughing matter in terms of wanting to leave. It's serious. You need to stick to it if you want to. If you want to leave, then leave. And empower yourself to do the skills and qualifications to get ready to go into a role just like your buddies did when they did their apprenticeships. Guess what? They're all available. You can do them all the time. So it's just crazy.
At first, I was doing miles better than these people. I remember coming home and having loads of money, going out, spending loads of money, and seeing these people and, oh, these are always skint all the time. I couldn't be bothered to do that. But then they've overtaken me now, and then I've just been left way behind, you know.
So again, listen to the things he's saying, and it's so ridiculous because it's all, again, about his own integrity in being proactive and being a soldier. I'm not faulting and doubting that this guy was a fantastic soldier. Probably was a fantastic soldier. But listen to what he's saying. My buddies had very little money, and they were skint, and I was in the army making lots of money, going out and having fun. He's wanting the best of both worlds. His buddies, who chose their path, which was education, and to get into these apprenticeships he's talking about, do you want to know why they're skint? Is because they're putting their money, probably, for the most part, I don't know specifically, but probably towards their education and their apprenticeships to get into that job. You're in a job. You're in a career. They're probably not. They're in part-time jobs trying to get their education to get into a career. Unfortunately, normally if you do further education, you will get a job that pays higher than, say, an infantryman because they've done skills and qualifications prior to. This organization is saying that if you join at 16, you're burning that bridge, which I find is complete bullshit. It is. You can't focus on one arm of the army, say combat arm, infantry, armored corps, artillery, etc., and say, well, if you join those corps, or sorry, those branches of the military, you're screwed, and all your buddies are going to be super rich by the time you're starting to get out, and you're going to be broke. Listen to him. I had loads of money, and I just spent loads of it, and eventually they started to catch up, and they're making more than me. Wow. You think? You think so? You think that's how it would be? You chose to be an infantry soldier. You knew the pay rates. They tell you everything when you join. This is how much you're going to get paid if you get promoted here and here and here and here. Your entire pay scale is set out for you for your full 22 years. Your promotion levels and timings, roughly. Everything is on a plate. Nothing's lied to you. It's all there. You can see everything. Your term of service, how many years you need to do before you can get out, how many years for retirement, pension, blah, blah, blah. The guys in civilian street who he's making out as to be in this, you know, happy place, they don't have that. They don't have this career that will set 22 years out for them, maybe more now, I don't know what the term of service is, that shows them everything they have, from a pension to the promotion scales to, you know, the kind of job roles they're going to do. Everything is laid out for you for the army. They don't have that. He had the choice when he went to the recruiting office to see his prospects, to see the kind of things that he could be doing, and to see what abilities and skills and qualifications he would have after leaving. At that point, he should have determined, is this the right move for me? Is this something I want to do? Because when I leave, I'm going to have all this extra stuff. He chose to join. And yet this organization is saying, don't join because this one individual has had a hard time trying to get qualifications such and leaving the army. That makes zero sense to me. Zero.
Like they own a house and they they've got decent cars, or all this monetary sort of stuff, and they're financially set. And then you can see me, who I'm struggling to pay rent and struggling to get my life sorted, and I'm now 27. Most people have sort of got their life almost sussed by now.
Oh, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I didn't even know that this organization existed. This is new to me. And I don't know. It's definitely an eye-opener that this kind of propaganda is going out. Don't enlist at 16. Hashtag don't enlist at 16. Look, his situation is very specific. And this organization is playing on that as a very broad spectrum for anyone joining at 16, and it's not fair, it's not right. I am telling you, as a person who has also lived in this particular scenario, from joining at 16, it's the greatest decision I've ever made in my entire life. If I could do it all again, I'd do it 100 times over. If anyone ever asks me, Matt, should I join at 16? I'm going to say yes. Am I biased? Of course I am. 100% biased. But why am I biased? Because the army has provided me with just about everything that has given me what I have today, that I am blessed to have. Everything. It has. From life skills to just everything. It really has. This is the interesting part with this, guys, with the whole qualifications and skills things. I moved to Canada, okay? As you're already aware, I live in Canada now. Moved from the UK. Once I left the army, I moved to this beautiful country with my family. And all my qualifications that I got with Arimi, which is a trade part of the army, so I did actually get qualifications and skills that were given to me by the army that were reputable to employers outside. Guess what? Not a single one transfers over into this country. Nothing is applicable here. If I showed them all of my certificates and all my documentation, they'd be like, okay, great. It doesn't apply here. You have to go back to school, do everything again. Everything. Or take an extremely complex and difficult test. Hopefully you pass and potentially we can fast track you. That's the options you had, or I had. Guess what? I'm now in a role that is doing me very, very proud. I've just recently been promoted, actually, so it's making me very, very happy. And my life is doing, in career terms, quite well. And although extremely stressful, everything that the army provided me in life skills has given me what I have today. Has made me the person I am in here. Not all up here. Not about reading books. Not about knowing the technicalities of a certain job and the educational side. The army gave me everything as a person, as a good person, as a, all the different life skills that are necessary to get the job I have today. And they saw that. They looked at my qualifications list, which in Canada was just my GCSEs, high school diploma. And they were like, okay, well, you're demonstrating, the things that we've interviewed you and talked about. It seems like you've got your head switched on about you. Your army career has really defined you as what could be a very good employee. And guess what? I'm still working very happily in my career and being promoted. This completely deters from that. And it's very, very specific, this situation. And their facts and figures just are garbage. And I'm going to check out that Royal Legion, that link. But let me just put it like this. I will never persuade anyone to do anything just because I did it or that I was successful in it, because that's not a good principle. It's not something that I wish to do with this channel, is to coerce people to do something just because it worked out for me, because that's not how life works, as we already know, and things just don't work out that way. That being said, if you were to ask me right now, Matsimus, I'm thinking of joining the Army or the Navy or the Air Force or the Marines at 16, should I do it? I'd say, yes, you should. But before I say that, I will always ask the question, why do you want to join? Are you passionate about joining? Are you confident? Is there any doubt of you joining? The mere fact that they're asking the question, should I join at 16, already makes me wonder, should you? If you're asking me, a stranger, on the internet, if you should join, Are you in here? Are you as that person who in the future could have all these life skills that the army are going to provide you? Are you as that person confident that that's going to be the best option for you? I can't answer that for you. What I can say is, though, you should go with what your heart says. That's what life should be about. Always do what you love and you're passionate about and stick to it. I left the army, and that's not because the army treated me bad, because it didn't at all. Like I said, it provided me with anything. I left the army because I looked and founded a new path in life. Something that I thought, and presumably at the time, was going to be better for me in life. And guess what? It worked out. Sometimes it doesn't. For this particular gentleman's case, it didn't seem like things worked out so great. And now he's blaming the army for that. He is. Let's be honest here. He's blaming the army for not providing him with all these qualifications, these skills, this education that he should have been given, ready to leave and to go into the civilian world. And on the same basis, he's saying, I shouldn't have joined at 16 because if I hadn't joined at 16, I would have been able to go with my buddies and get this apprenticeship and all this good stuff. Guess what? If you didn't do so well at 16 with your education back then, I wonder how successful he would have been if he had gone down the route of going with his buddies on the apprenticeship. Do you think he would have been better off? I can almost guarantee he probably wouldn't have been. That's just my own opinion. I think the army has provided him, and he doesn't seem to quite know it himself maybe, but the army has provided him with a lot of life lessons and life skills that nothing else in the world is going to provide. And it's sad. It's sad to know that this organization has reached out for that particular individual and kind of capitalized on it to try and make this spin of, you know, don't enlist at 16. It's kind of embarrassing. And I always find it absolutely hilarious with this child soldiers thing, because what this organization I think is doing is trying to make out like these child soldiers are like child soldiers in Africa. You know, they're picking up an AK-47 and going into a village and murdering hundreds of people. Little do I think these organizations realize that the general public aren't that stupid. They don't realize that average everyday person isn't going to think that 16-year-olds are going to join the army and go away and start going into war. Believe it or not, you still need to be 18 years of age before you can be deployed on any operational deployment involving peacekeeping, whatever else it may be, right? Afghanistan, peacekeeping, counterinsurgency, whatever it may be, full-blown war. You cannot go until you're 18. So, in this particular instance, when you join at 16, right, you go to Army Foundation College, Harrogate and such, you're at college. You're still learning to be a soldier, yes, but you still do extra stuff. I got some qualifications and bits and pieces that I, got at college with the army. So it's not, don't enlist at 16 because you'll be a child soldier and you could be killed. Like, the guy at the was saying, like, at the beginning of the video there, oh, I've seen guys' legs blown off and stuff. What do you expect? You're joining the infantry and you're in a time of war, back probably when this is filmed, in Afghanistan. I just thought I'd speak out about this, guys, because it's not often I kind of have a rant, but this is something I think I had to speak for, because I just don't approve of it. I don't think it's right or fair to diminish the thoughts of someone's potential life goals, dreams, ambitions, because of one particular individual's hardships in leaving, because clearly he's not in the military anymore. And it just doesn't bode well with me. So, guys, I'd love to hear your opinion on this. I really do. I think this is something we could probably have a good chat with. Maybe I'll do a live stream in the future. We'll touch base on this again and have a little chat about it. But yeah, I was just kind of shocked when I watched it and opened it up. I was shocked that there was actually a thing. But yeah, thank you for joining me today, guys. I'm sorry if it was kind of a bit of a rant, kind of out to town a little bit, but I just thought it's something I need to speak out about. And as always, like I said, I'm not trying to promote joining at 16. Maybe a little bit, but I mean, like I said, it did me well in life. Is it going to do you if you join at 16? I don't know. I can't tell you that. I don't want to tell you that. What I will say is this isn't right. What this isn't fair. It's not fair on the individuals who want to join. It's not fair on the army for for kind of capitalizing on making out as if they're not providing all these things, and it's a really bad choice. And it's also not fair on this gentleman here, because I honestly feel he's been put as a bit of a scapegoat. You know, this is the person who, you know, didn't get his grades when he was younger and joined the infantry, and it didn't work out for him. So because it didn't work out for him, it's not going to work out for you. That's not fair on him to make that presumption for everyone else. And I'm surprised he went along with this. I am surprised. But he's clearly been burnt a little bit by this process. So guys, I'll stop ranting on and let you get on. But thank you again for joining me. If you could leave a comment, I would really appreciate it. Leave a like or a dislike. I'm sure I'm going to get a bit of rep for this. A bit of flame war going on, but that's fine. I'm going to accept that. And if you do wish to support my channel on my Patreon, please go check that out. And apart from that, I hope you have a wonderful day. All the best. Bye-bye.